Thank you so much for being with us.
Good morning.
Good morning, Governor. We want to start with that subpoena the legislature issued Saturday. Republican lawmakers are investigating what they say are possible election irregularities. What's your response to claims of voter fraud among absentee ballots here in Michigan?
I think that the people have spoken. We ran a very drama-free election. I give great kudos to our Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, our Attorney General, Dana Nessel, all of the phenomenal clerks across the state, and tens of thousands of volunteers who helped make this election happen. Michigan's was drama-free. I think it is time to embrace the will of the people. There have not been any evidence of anything that would undermine the validity of this election, and it's time to move forward.
Well, Governor, given the recent demonstrations over the election count, including celebrations here in Detroit and then protests in Lansing, what do you say to a state that appears to be so divided?
Well, I think that, anyone who watched those two speeches last night saw two wonderful speeches about working to unify our nation. We are deeply divided as a nation, and certainly we see those divisions here in our state. And yet, our democratic process depends on the will of the people. The people decide our leaders. And when the people have spoken, it is incumbent on all of us to rise to the ideals of this democracy and have a peaceful exchange of power and to move forward together. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gave a couple of phenomenal speeches last night about reaching out, recognizing the incredible coalition that came together to make this change. It was African-American voters, it was women voters, it was Latina voters. I mean, it was a coalition unlike anything we've seen, and yet we're not going to dwell on what put us into this moment. We're going to focus on bringing people together because we have a common enemy, and that common enemy is a virus that doesn't care about our politics, that is ravaging our nation. And this administration is going to get their arms around us, around our health, around the public health crisis, and around getting us back to work safely and keeping our kids in school safely.
And that brings me to our next question. We saw another record-setting day of coronavirus cases. On Saturday, while the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has mandated masks, you've asked the state legislature to also issue a state mandate, which they say isn't necessary. How do we get these numbers under control?
Well, so we do have a statewide mandate, and I think that's important for people to understand. Our Supreme Court has created a lot of confusion. And that's unfortunate because right now more than ever, we need to embrace a mask. We got to get the politics out of this public health crisis. And I would love for the legislature to codify the rule that came out of DHHS. It does have the force of law already. So I guess the legislature isn't necessary to do that. But it would go a long way toward telling Michiganders that this isn't about one party or another. This is about all of us. This is about our public health. To this day, the best tool we have to keep ourselves safe and to protect our economy is simply wearing a mask. And we've got to all rise to this challenge together so that we can all be successful and keep our economy engaged and move forward together.
And now we've been warned that if these numbers continue to stay on the rise, we could see up to 100 deaths a month by next month, or a day by next month. And my question for you is, we've heard from hospitals that with numbers already going up, are you concerned that we may be out of beds because hospitals have said that they may not be able to only focus on COVID patients?
Well, I am concerned about it. Every one of us should be, and here's why. Even if you're someone who maybe doesn't think that you are vulnerable to COVID-19, every one of us will pay a price if our hospitals get overrun. The person who has a heart attack, the person who gets in a car accident, if our hospitals are filled with COVID patients, if our nurses and doctors are so fatigued that they can't continue to stay on the front line, that jeopardizes all of our health. If COVID spreads so fast that we can't contact trace it and isolate it, that means that we might have to take steps backward in terms of our economic re-engagement. That hurts every single one of us. And that's why it's so important that we recognize masking up is an act of patriotism. Masking up is an act of community. Masking up is an act of self-preservation too. So it's a simple way to do your part and to really make a difference.
All right, and switching gears, Governor, you were considered a top pick for Biden's VP. Would you consider a cabinet role in his administration?
I want to take a minute just to acknowledge the incredible visual last night, watching Kamala Harris give that speech. It was a beautiful speech. And thinking about my daughters seeing this phenomenal woman in this role is, I mean, it was so moving. You know, I have been very clear all along. I have no intention on leaving. I love being the governor of Michigan. I feel grateful to be here. I've got a lot of work to do. And I think I can be a great partner to a Biden-Harris administration from right here at home. And I know they're going to be a great partner to Michigan. And so I am really excited about this next chapter.
Well, it certainly was a busy election season. Thank you, Governor Whitmer, for taking the time to speak with us this morning.
Thank you.